Alrighty guys, where I left you off was having to go to, here we get to the end of the row here, the very last row of your piece. Now, it depending on the size that you chose, and right now I'll pop the sizes right there. That's your measurements to your piece, okay? Mine was the very last measurement you see, or the, you know, the largest size, if you will. So there you go. All right, once you get to your measurements, this is what you do. You join like normal, so you just very far away. Here we go. We just pop our single crochet. You've chained your one, yep. And mine's a little bit weird. What's going on here? Let's try that again. I'm sorry, did I just hum? hum. All right, there we go. Chain one, then you single crochet like normal into your stitch, and just take out your stitch marker if you were using one. All right, like normal, you're going to chain 1, 2, and 3. Pop your stitch marker in that stitch right there. All right, and turn like you would normally turn every row. Now I'm just going to flip it a little bit because it's very big, mine, and I've had lots of thread issues, so you're going to see lots of little ends everywhere, but don't worry about mine, okay? For now, we're just going to, oh hello, too far. We're just going to jump straight back into that center like normal, but we're not putting 3 double crochets, we're only going to put 1. Usually we put 2, sorry, we're only going to put 1, like so. All right, now I'm going to have to change my thread because, you know, there's only a little bit there, but from now I'm just going to keep going. All right, so from here we're no longer going to be jumping into the spaces, we are now going to be jumping into the stitches, and that would mean going into these little V's that you see right here. Okay, every little V that you see, that's where I want you to pop your hook. All right, every little V, and you're doing a double crochet in every little V you see, starting from 1 right there. That's our very first double crochet there, and it's right there. So there we go. Pop your hook in and do a double crochet right there. Yes, 1 into your next, 1 into your next, and so on, and etc., and the rest. Like that, and off you go. Seriously, it is a double crochet in every stitch all the way across this side. Now, before you go ahead and do all of that, I'm going to flip my piece a little bit. Let's pretend like I flipped it, right? Okay, so this right here is one side, and when you get to this corner right here, blow that up, I want you to pop your stitch marker in there. Now this is a second stitch marker, so what you have is this side only. So your job is just to go along this side in every stitch, popping a double crochet all the way along the side, get to your very first corner and wait for me there. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of this side, and let's get a nice close up there. Alright, so what I have left, I popped the stitch marker in the center, okay? I still have my 3 double crochets left here. So 1 in my first, 1 in my second, this is too close, sorry guys, and 1 in the third. You must get in that third stitch right there. It's just before your corner, okay? Then take your stitch marker out, and your corner is going to be done exactly the same, which is 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1 and 2, and 3 double crochets. So you've done your normal turn for the corner, and I've split the yarn. Well, of course I have, because I'm on air. See, when I'm off air, I don't split the yarn. Do you love it or what? All right, so there's your first, second, too close, and third in the corner. And then you are just doing your normal 3 double crochets, okay? You're doing a double crochet in each stitch across. There's your first stitch right there. First stitch right there, okay? 1 in your next, 2, and 1 in your next, 3, and so on all the way across your row. So it's in every stitch, you can't go wrong. All right, so your job now, guys, is to, this is what you've done so far. You started from this side here and you've done one side only, then you got to this corner and you did your corner. So it's a double crochet in each stitch until you get to your corner, then turn your work and continue along the side, do your next corner, and then turn that one, go all the way along this side and get to your next corner, and then hello, you just keep going until you get to your very first stitch marker right there. Now that's where we first started our row with. All right, so that is your job now, guys. I'll meet you back here in 6 years. I mean in a couple of minutes, and we will continue the rest of our granny square shrug. Alrighty, guys, here I am at the end of the row. Now let's get a nice close-up for you. All right, so I have 1 and 2 more double crochets to do, just in those stitches. 1 and 2. Oops, right there. Now we're here, so what we need to do is jump into the corner with 3 double crochets. So off you go into that corner with 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1 and 2 like a normal corner, and here you've got your 2 double crochets. All you need to do is pop in 1 more double crochet. Well, actually you don't. You have a double crochet and chain 3, which is acting as a double crochet. Then you, oh, it's really tight, slip stitch into the stitch with your stitch marker. Shh, you didn't see that, did you? Okay, not your double crochet into the chain right there, really tight chain, and pull that through like so. Just pull a loop through and lift it a little bit so that it doesn't come undone, or instead do this. Pop your stitch marker in that little loop, and this way it won't come undone. All right, I use that tip a lot within our tutorials here at Crochet Designs. Now, first things first, this is actually classified now as the right side of your work. However, if you are anything like me, my work ended up on the wrong side, okay? So I'm not going to use this as my right side. However, if yours is on the right side where you don't have ends that you've weaved in on this side, whichever side you weaved your ends in, that's the wrong side, okay? So right now you just need the right side of your work facing you at this stage, yeah? Then what you're going to do is, you see your very first corner that you just finished, go to the opposite corner, right? Actually, I might use this one here, right? This is the right side of your work still, yeah? Grab your opposite corner and just fold it over like that. Oh, I'll show you in a minute. Give me a second. Like that. All right. There's the end of your piece, and there is your corner. Okay. So here's where you grab another stitch marker and you pop it in. You know what I'll do? I'll change stitch markers because this one here is a really small one. It doesn't really matter because my other ones are small. I can't find the big ones. So what you do is you pop your main stitch marker in the corner of your piece on this side and in the corner of the piece on that side, which is like that. Yep. And then that is now classified as your armhole, okay? So we are going to actually sew from the bottom of that all the way up to here or here, depending on measurements, which we'll talk about in a minute. However, if you wanted to, this is why I asked you not to cut this thread. If you wanted to, you could also single crochet along this edge. I'm not going to because it leaves it really thick and I can't get the border on nicely around the sleeve edge later. So we are going to actually sew it, okay? So what I want you to do at this stage is to work out the measurement of your armhole, okay? Now, the average measurement is between 7 and 8 inches, or, I'll just grab my measuring tape, guys, give me 1 second, or between 18 centimeters and 21. Okay, that's the average sleeve hole edge. Okay, when I say the average, that's size small all the way up to a medium and large. Now I'm actually a large, but don't tell anyone, but I'm going to leave mine at 8 inches away from the fold. There's your fold, yeah. Now this is a rough measurement, okay? You're going to have to count your stitches later, but this is a rough measurement for now. So grab your measuring tape, place your stitch marker the 8 inches away or 20 centimeters away, or you're 7 inches if you are a small, all right? I'm going to place 8 because yours truly is a little bit large these days, but don't tell anyone. Yeah, a bit of a secret between you and I. But there you go. You pop it between the two sides of your piece, and from there to there, that is where you stitch your armhole. All right, you're going to stitch along here or sew along here, whichever you want to call it. Now it's a big distance and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But the way you really work it out is now that you've got your measurement, count your stitches from there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to the end. When I say the end, just that very last stitch there. Yeah, I'll get it close up for you. Let me get the pin. That last stitch right there, count that all the way over to your stitch marker stitch, flip it, and do the same for the other side and even it out, because this was just a rough edge that we evened out, yeah? Now we need to even it out properly with marrying up the stitches. Once you know the count of this section here, you can do the other sleeve exactly the same. So we're going to do this right now, and I'm just going to let you count your stitches and we'll get on with sewing our sides together. Alrighty guys, I ended up with 40 stitches across this way. I'm not sure what you ended up with, but make sure you have exactly the same on the other sides. At this stage, your right sides should be facing, yeah? For me, I'm going to have to change mine to suit because my right side is wrong. Do you like that? Also, the way you find out which is your right side is, so that you know, firstly, it's the side that we just finished crocheting, okay? So whatever side that is, you were here, you got to the corner, that's your right side. However, if you mess that up, when you look at your work and your little V's you see right here are kind of facing you, that's the right side of your work. When you turn it the opposite way, your V's are going downwards at the back. That's the wrong side of your work, right? But in our case, because we went up and down, we went around and then we came back and we turned, either way would have been good, right? But we did stick a stitch marker, which mine's not here because my right side is over here, on the right side of our work. So that should be your right side, okay? For me, I'm going to have to turn mine in the other way. But you can leave yours this way if it's worked out, okay? If this is your wrong side of your work, then that's the way you work, all right? Alrighty, guys, now I've fixed mine up, but what I want you to do is place your piece the way you're going to sew. So there's your little thread that we finished off with, that we still haven't weaved in. Let's get rid of that one. That we still haven't weaved in because we're not going to weave that in. We are going to use that thread to sew along here. Now, I left it on the skein just in case you wanted to crochet yours with a single crochet. Personally, I'm not going to. So now think about the distance of your piece. Oh, mine's falling off the table. Give me a second, guys. And the joy of it being so big. Oh, by the way, before you continue, guys, just a quick heads up. The size of your shrug right now, if you took undone the stitch markers, if you did maybe another 4 or 5 rows, you could have this as a blanket as well. Just a quick heads up there in case you're looking for any blanket ideas. All right, so what I want you to do is grab your thread and just kind of give it a measurement. I just usually double it, and that's pretty much how much length I leave. Sometimes I get a bit worried and I give myself a little bit more, and then I give it a cut. And that's the end of that. You'll need that thread later to start crocheting around the armhole edges. So here's your end right here. Yeah. So you can actually take this stitch marker out because, you know, the corner's easy to find in the end. And just grab that loop and pull it out. So we've already made the tie, the knot there. So you're going to pull it out and just tighten up that knot a little bit. Right there. Yeah. Then you're going to grab your needle. This might actually be too long, the thread, but hey, better having it long than short. Grab your sewing, darning, weaving needle. Make sure your eye is thick enough for your yarn. And this yarn is relatively thick. All right, so what I want you to do, where you are at the moment, is not exactly in the corner. So you need to slip stitch your thread straight into the corner. You can do it any way you like, it doesn't matter. Just pull it through to the corner like so. Oh, don't catch any other threads around. Like that. Then grab your 2 pieces. And this is where we start sewing. And I'm going to get as close as I can because this is a little bit dark, this thread. Now from here, you're going to work from the inside over and inside over, inside over. And I'll explain that properly in a minute. But let's just go through the very first stitch. This is your other side, yeah? So you want to just pop your sewing needle through the stitch, and you've got 2 loops on top and 1 loop on the bottom from the inside. Yep. Pull your needle through like so, and that's that. Yeah. Now you want to start in the very next stitch, but you're going to start from the inside of the opposite side of the stitch. So this is a stitch we would normally go through this way and then go through there, yeah? We're not going to go in there, we're going to go into the opposite side with those 2 loops on top. We're still working in the chains, 2 loops on top and 1 loop on the bottom, bringing it through like so. And then you're coming into that chain, you're going over. You're not doing anything really. You're going in, out, in, out, in, out. So you're going in through your stitch on this side. There, 2 loops on top, 1 loop on the bottom. Get you close up there and pull it through. You can keep it open until you're ready to tighten up. You're going straight into your very next stitch on the opposite side. So you are in that chain. You're not going into your next stitch on this side. You're going into the next stitch on your opposite side. Pull that loop through, 2 loops on top and your post on the bottom now. This is your post, yeah. And then you're going back into this side in that first stitch. So don't miss it, yeah. If it helps you to count them, that's stitch 1 you've just done. Now stitch 2 on the opposite side is there, yeah. Stitch 2 on this side is there, all right. And that's what you need to do all the way through. Stitch 3 on your opposite side is there. Stitch 3 on this side. Now being careful not to miss it because we're in there. You can actually see it with my colouring anyway. We're in that stitch and we want to go into the next. I'm sorry about how dark this is, guys. Maybe I should have done a separate patch for you. Once you get a certain amount of stitches, just give it a bit of a tug so it makes sure it's closed. You don't want to keep that loose. It's got to be nice and tight. All right, making sure it's very tight. So when you turn it over, you get like a flat look. Look at that flat, gorgeous look. All right, now this is going to take forever, so you don't want to sit here and watch me do it. But I'll show you a couple more stitches. There's your 4th stitch on the opposite side. Go inside and then bring it out. Yeah. you're in this stitch here. Yep, so you need to go in the other stitch from the inside out. Yep, inside out, inside, making sure you check where the last one was, out. All right, I'm not going to let you sit here and watch me do it because it's going to take a while. So what I want you to do, to head off on your own, do that stitch all the way across until you get to the stitch before your stitch marker, and I will meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, I got a little excited and ended up doing my last stitch. Well, I'm actually in the very top stitch and I've got to go into my very last stitch on this side, like so. Alright, so we're actually at the end, but what we want to do is look at this. It's really loose and we want to make a knot. So we're just going to go right back in that stitch. Don't pull your needle all the way through, get halfway through, pop your needle into the loop before you pull it through, and then just give it a gentle tug and it will close up shop. Take that stitch marker out, you don't need it there anymore. Right? And with the, just lost my stitch marker. And with your tail end, all I want you to do is weave it in and out of the stitches you just did, or any stitches that are going to be hidden at the back. Make sure you can't see the needle from the front, and you can't, so just pull it through like so. And you want to go right in, really in, because you want to make sure that end doesn't come undone. And you're going to go back in the opposite direction, different area, so you don't unravel your work. Okay, like that. Oh, don't forget to check the front. Sorry guys, I'm just, assuming everything's all right. You should always check the front. And then go back one more time, just the opposite direction. Give your work a cut, and that is hidden that tail. This sleeve is now ready to work on. All right, but what I want you to do before we work on the sleeve, just go to the opposite side of your piece. Make sure you pop your stitches in your 40, let's try your stitch markers in your 40 stitches, yeah? And then you're going to attach a yarn to this one because you won't have a thread on this one. Oh, this is not a very good yarn. Watch this, have a look at this yarn, watch. Don't you love it? All right, it does do that sometimes. This yarn does do that. So you've got to be very wary with some yarns. All right, so I just want you to thread your needle and do exactly the same on this side, but remembering we still haven't weaved in that end on the other side, which we're going to do in a minute. But I just want to, oh, it's so dark. The purple is so dark. I'm sorry, guys. I probably should have shown you how to do this without it being so dark. Now, we started on the opposite side of the other side. Doesn't matter in this case. Just go into any one of your chains right there, yep, and pull that loop through. Oh, this one's not even cut. Hello. You can do this, Mary. Let's go. So just pull it through, making sure that you leave a tail for weaving in afterwards. All right, so leave that tail there. And then you're going directly into your opposite chain. It's so tight. 2 loops on top, 1 loop on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. It's so hard to see. There, pull it through. And just pull it through like that. All right. And then you are going, I've just knotted my little thing there. Ooh, good on you, Mare. Don't lose your thread, yeah. And then you're just going to the opposite stitch, remember, from in, out. And this one here, don't forget, it's not knotted. We're going to do that when we weave in that end later. Back on this side, in and out. All right? And over again until you get to your end, in, out, in, out. Now you know how to do the rest because you've just done one side. So what I want you to do is do that one all the way along to here, your very second last stitch, and I will meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, once again I got a little bit so happy and forgot to stop. So I'm on my last stitch there and I'm just going to pull that through. I'm going to go back in there again like we did before, and don't pull it all the way through. pop your needle in there just to give it a notch, and I need you to weave that end in. All right, I'm not going to do that with you because we did that before. So I will go back to this one here with you because the other side didn't have a knot, but this one actually does. And if we don't knot that, look, it's going to come undone. All right, so what I want you to do is thread this piece right here. Dearie me, what to do, what to do. All right, here we go. Now, once again, like we did the other side, we're just going to go back into the space anywhere, doesn't matter really. Don't pull it all the way through. And just make the knot, make sure it's tight enough. And then you're just going to weave it in exactly like you did the other side. Find some stitches and weave it in. Make sure you can't see the needle from the front. Yes. And weave it in. And go down as deep as you like. I think that will do. Oh, keep checking your front there, guys. Especially if you use different colour thread. You don't want that to be noticed. That's just sticking out the bottom, but it's there. All right. I'm not going to weave in anymore. I think that's perfect. We'll give it a cut. And there you go. You now officially have both your sleeves done. All right, I'm going to leave this tail and we'll deal with that later. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it for now, but this is the wrong side of your work, remember? So what I would like for you to do is actually pop the work on the right side. So now what you have, there's one seam line and there's one sleeve. What I want you to do is grab your crochet hook and your thread, because we are going to form 2 rows of a border on ours. I'm going to give mine a little bit of a cut. Look at that edge. Look how it's all frayed. We'll just give it a cut, throw it over there. Throw it over there, just toss it over there. All right, so what we're going to do here is, the way I did the sleeve last time was a little bit awkward to see. So what I'm going to do this time is, there's our seam line. Okay, grab your thread, and I've popped my hook in the stitch. There's your seam line right there. I've popped my hook in the stitch just before the seam line. All right, so grab your thread, pull a loop through, just passing it forward, locks it into place. All right, so you're chaining 1. Just give it a tight tug there, 2, and leave it there because we're not working on those stitches. But in the same stitch, you are popping a double crochet. So those 2 stitches you're not working on, but you're going to pop your stitch marker in the double crochet, because we are going to slip stitch into the double crochet and not where those chain 2s are, which is not what we normally do. All right, so now you've got all this super thickness here. The idea, let's get rid of this tail because it'll just confuse you. In a normal, top circumstance, we would have double crocheted those 2 together to tighten it up. But we're not going to do that because we want ours to be a tiny little bit loose on the sleeve to show that little pattern that we're going to put on later. So all you're going to do is right in the middle of your seam line, you're going to do a double crochet. On that stitch before the seam line, before your next stitch, sorry, you do a double crochet and a double in your stitch next to it, and then a double, and then a double, and so on. All right, so your job now, all caught up under my piece, your job now is to continue putting double crochets in every stitch in the round. All right, until you get back to the stitch before your stitch marker. I think you know what you're doing. So I'll just stop right there and show you what we've done. We've put a stitch marker in that first stitch that we did, right? We chained 2, put a stitch marker there. We did a double crochet in the actual seam line. We did one in the chain of the seam line, and then it's the stitch itself, that is, not so much chain. And then we did one in every stitch, and you're going to do one in every stitch all the way around until you get to, you know what, we'll pop a stitch marker in, not that stitch, not that stitch there, but the one right next to it, yeah? All right, so now your job is to keep going in the round until you get to the stitch before your stitch marker, and I will meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, here I am at the stitch marker that I said to do your stitch in, which you should have done, which I didn't do. Shh, don't tell them. There we go, I've done it now. Okay, so that was your second last stitch. Your very first stitch was in that stitch there, and you have one stitch left. So pop your double crochet in that stitch there. And from here, you're going to skip those 2 chains that we did and slip stitch into the stitch with a stitch marker in, pulling that loop through. And what that's done is it's just stopped you from having a bit of a gap there. Take out your stitch marker for a moment. This round is going to be a tad different. I'm just going to go chain 1 and 2, doesn't count as anything, okay? Yarn over your hook. We're going to see your chains there. We're going to form a front post double crochet. Now, if you've not done one of those, we do have tutorials here on them, and I'll pop a link in a description box down below on the front post double crochet and then the back post double crochet. So you're going to do front, back, front, back, front, back all the way through. All right, now we're going to leave that chain 2 there. We're going to move the little chains that we had underneath there. Pop your hook around, goes in that little space and around your post. Okay, so we're moving the chains out the way, pop the hook in the space, go around that post, pull a loop through, and you should have 1, 2, 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. We're going to pop a stitch marker in that stitch right there. Oops, let's try that again. All right, now we're going to work on what we call the back post. Now with the front post, you're going that way and you're going in. The back post, you're literally crocheting behind your work. A little awkward, but you can do it, okay? So you're popping your hook behind the post and through to the back of the post. Pop a loop around the hook, pull the thread through, and you've got your 1, 2, 3, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. There's your front and there's your back. Front because it's pushed forward, back because it's pushed back. The very next stitch we're going to do a front post. Now front post again goes in through to the front, around that post and back into the front. Grab your loop, pull the loop through. You should have 1, 2, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Now we're doing the back post, which means we're working from the back, going into the front, back into the back, pull that loop through, a little bit awkward, 1, 2, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Front, back, front, back, front. Yarn over your hook, in the space and around that post. Pull a loop through, 1, 2, 3, yarn over, pull through 2, 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Let's do one more back. Into the back, around that post, and back into the back again. Pull that loop through, 1, 2, 3, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2, and that's it. All right, so what I want you to do, real tricky stitch, but you can do it. Front, back, front, back, front, back, front, back, all the way through. Once you get around, let's do the stitch marker stitch again. Around here, no, it's not even open. Hello, I don't know how close, but anyway, that's your stitch before your first front post, yeah? So just pop your stitch marker there. All right, so continue in that manner all the way around, get to that stitch marker, and I'll meet you there in a moment. You will be starting with your front post. So front, front, back, all the way to the last stitch, and I'll meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, oh, it's so far away. Here we are at the end of this row. Alright, so I asked you to get to that stitch marker right there, okay? I'm just going to pop that back loop. There we go. And then we've got another front post there. Did I say loop before? I think I meant post. Oh, I don't know what I said. And there's your front post. Now, that stitch marker is in the very last stitch. All right, so we're going to take out that stitch marker right there. All right, so you can either do two things here. You can do a double crochet in here and then slip stitch, or you can do your back post. I'm going to do the back post, okay? So the back post, just a normal back post around that stitch. Remember, these are the chains that belong to this section here. So just around the back post, like so. And there you go. If you ended up with another stitch and it looks like you're going to do two front posts, don't do it. Just put a double crochet and a slip stitch, all right? But I was just lucky enough to have had it end up with the back post here, the front post here and the back post here, all right? Don't stress, again, just pop a double crochet in and then we'll slip stitch into the stitch with the stitch marker in it. And again, this is under the arm, no one's ever going to see it. So pull the loop through, pull it through the loop you are in, pull up a loop, and not a moment too soon, check this out. Look at that. Don't you love it? Don't you love it? No. Make sure you check your work before you cut it. My dears, that is one sleeve done. Simply divine. Now, obviously, you know what to do with these ends. You turn them on the inside and you weave them in wherever you want to weave them in. Remember, we've been doing this all along, so you're really good at weaving in ends now. So I don't think I need to show you. And what I want for you to do now is to go to the other sleeve, the other side, whatever that is. Oh, it's so big now. It's really big. And let's get you started. Let's get you started on this side. And what shall we use? Can't use that one that I've just cut now. All right, we'll use this one right here. I've got that much left. That'll be all right. There's a blue and a purple in it, so that'll be all right. I've got skeins all over the place because this yarn was a lot of knots and cutting, which doesn't normally happen, but it was just, you know, a bit of bad luck. I'm very unlucky like that. All right, so what we're going to do, this is the middle of your other sleeve, you know, the part where we sewed our little seam line. And again, what did we do before? We started in, that's right, we started right there, the stitch before it, and then we did a double crochet, we did chain 2 there and a double crochet, and then we did 1 double crochet in the center there from memory. Well, that's what we're going to do now anyway, so hopefully it turns out the same. Do you like that? Listen to me. Well, I hope it works out. All right, so you're going to pull that loop through, grab your little tail end, passing it forward, chain 1 and 2, and you're going to put a double crochet in the same space like so. All right, and then we're going to pop a double crochet in the center stitch right there like so, a double crochet in your next stitch, and again in your very next stitch, and so on. I think I'm not going to show you the rest because I think you know what you're doing. We've done this before with the other side. So what I want you to do is repeat this exactly the same as we did with the other side. Now, what I will do is I'll pop a time up there right now. That's where I want you to go to finish off this sleeve, and I will meet you back once you're done, and we will be talking about what to do with the fronts of our work. And then get excited, guys, because it's almost done. All right, get this sleeve done at that time right there, and I'll meet you back once your sleeve is complete. Alrighty, guys, what you should have is one sleeve there and one sleeve on the opposite side, folding your work in like so, as though you are looking at your top from the front. Okay, I'm sorry I can't fit this in the screen anymore, guys. I'm a real shorty and I can't can't get up high enough for it. So there you go. But what I want you to do for now is just pop a stitch marker just anywhere near your seam lines right here. Now this is the front of your work and that's the inside. So actually you're looking at the right side of your work, all right? Pop a stitch marker anywhere near that seam line and we will talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, I'm just turning this around. Give me one moment. We're still working on the front of our work and that's where we put our little stitch marker right there. Now initially when I did this particular shrug, I actually put 3 double crochets in here and 3 in here. I'm not going to do that with this one. I'm going to tighten it up a little bit because I find it a little bit too loose and it kind of stretches out a little bit. But don't worry about that. You don't have to worry about any of that. All right, so what you're going to do, there's your seam line right there that we sewed our stitches together on the opposite side, of course. You've got your 2 corners there. You're going to pop your hook in your first corner, grabbing a piece of thread, any colour, it doesn't matter because it's all mixed up, isn't it? Pop the tail through, just dragging that little tail forward. Okay, oh, not that short. Trying to shorten it, but there you go. All right, chaining 1. Let's get a nice close up here and tighten it up. 2 and 3, popping a stitch marker. Actually, no, make it 2 because we're going to shorten this area as well. 2. And in that same space, I want you to pop. Oh, it's fallen off the table. Give me a second, guys. In that same space, I want you to pop in a double crochet. And I want you to put your stitch marker in that stitch and not in your chains, but in the double crochet. And we'll close up that area as well. I didn't do that in the previous tutorial either. So we're going to try something new. Why not? What can happen? What can happen? All right, so now we're going to talk, what can happen? We're going to talk about doing double crochet 3 together. We also did not do that in our previous tutorial. You're double crocheting in the space here, a center stitch and that space there, all 3 together. And I'll show you how to do that now. Just drop your tail at the back now, so I ain't going to confuse you. Start your double crochet, do your next step and hold it there. Yarn over your hook. You're going to go right into the center space. Start that second stitch, do your pull through, hold it there. You should have 3 loops. Yarn over your hook, go into the next space, which is next corner space. Pull that loop through, yarn over, pull through 2. You should have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over your hook, pull through all 4 loops on your hook. All right, so you've got 1, 2, and your third one will be right there. We are going to do a double crochet in the very next stitch. Like we did when we first started doing this round, we're going in the stitches and not the spaces. Double crochet in your first stitch and in your very next stitch and in your very next stitch. And you guessed it, in the very next stitch as well, and so on and so forth and etc. and the rest. Yeah, that's a lot of words, but there you go. So what I want you to do is grab yourself another stitch marker, all right, and I want you to, I'm just going to grab the other side because I know it's just fallen down. It's all over the place. It's what happens when it grows big. I want you to grab your stitch marker and pop it in the other side, just anywhere before you get to the other side, right there, before you get here. Now this is going to be a tricky part because it's really dark. We probably should have started from there, but it doesn't matter. Pop your stitch marker in and do all of that all the way until you get to your very next seam line, and I will meet you there once you're done. So it's a double crochet in each stitch all the way around. Get there and I'll meet you there in a moment. Alrighty guys, here we are at that other side. It's the opposite side of where we first started. Alright, I'm just going to take the stitch marker out, and where I am exactly is the last 2 double crochets before the corner. So we're going to pop 1 double crochet in that second last one, and 1 double crochet in your last stitch, which is actually the first double crochet from the other where we first started. All right, so don't worry about that. In the center, you're going to put 1 double crochet. All right, now here you're going to put that 3 double crochet together, remember, from the beginning of the row. So yarn over your hook, start your double crochet like normal until you get to 2 loops. Yarn over your hook, go into the center, pull a loop through, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over your hook into the next corner, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, pull through all 4 loops on your hook, pop a stitch marker right in that stitch there. The only reason is that's going to help us at the end for the next round, the middle of the next round. So don't worry about that for now. Yes, we are doing another round. And now you're popping 1 more double crochet in that space, just 1. And you're popping a double crochet in every stitch all the way across your row. All right, so that's super duper easy, this row, isn't it? I love doing double crochets. I just love doing them because I don't even have to look. I mean, right now I'm looking out the window at the dog walking around, as you do. As you do. All right, so I love double crochets, and that's no lie. But in the meantime, what I want for you to do is keep going double crochets all the way, bring that out, all the way across until you get to our very first stitch where our stitch marker is, and I will meet you up in a moment. Alrighty guys, here I am at the end of the row. Now I have 1, 2 and 3 double crochets left. So pop your stitch marker, I was going to say, pop your hook, hello, in that first, in that first one. Pop your hook in your second one. Pop your hook into your third stitch right there. And then what you're going to do is avoid the corner and just slip stitch directly into, the stitches are in the corner anyway, so slip stitch directly into that first double crochet that you did. Okay, chain 1, tighten it up, and 2, they're not going to count as anything. Do another double crochet on top of it, like so, like your normal double crochet. Okay, now remember before, whoops, don't lose your hook. Remember before how we crocheted all these 3 stitches together and you ended up with one big gap? You're going to put a double crochet in that one stitch, and then you're just going to jump right into the very next stitch with a double crochet. We're into our greens. Well, here we go. Nice green is coming up soon. All right, so all you're going to do is pop your double crochets. I love the green in this one, by the way. And I actually like the really bright blue as well, but there wasn't much bright blue in it. And you're going to pop your double crochets all the way across, like so. So guys, don't forget to join us on our lives at 4 p.m. Wednesday afternoons and 10 a.m. Saturday mornings, Melbourne, Australia time, that is. We have a lot of fun. Sometimes we're good and sometimes we're naughty. Most of the times we're good. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Okay, I'm too busy talking and forgetting to tell you what to do exactly. All right, so all you need to do is double crochet all the way across, get to the other stitch marker that we placed in the other side before, and I will meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, here we are on the opposite side of our piece. Now that's where we placed our stitch marker. I'll just pop my double crochet in the stitch just before it, like so. Alright, and that's where we placed our stitch marker. That's the big stitch again that we double crocheted 3 together. Take out your stitch marker from that really big stitch, pop your double crochet in it, like so. Double crochet into your next stitch. Oh, don't pull the threads. double in your next. Are you getting excited, guys? We're almost there. We're almost at the end of this tutorial. Get too excited. Watch me shake. Yeah, I'm getting all excited. I do. I get very excited when I'm near the end. All right, so what I want for you to do is very easy now. You'll like very much because I know I do. Just double crochet. I'm too excited. Double crochet all the way around into the round and get to the very next stitch marker, and we'll talk about what's going to happen next. Alrighty, guys, get too excited. Oh my gosh. Listen to me. I've done the second last stitch. I'm right into that very last stitch. And not a moment too soon. Check all this out. Look at this. My yarn collapsed. So not a moment too soon. That's the end of that yarn. I'm not going to be able to fix that. There's bibs and bobs everywhere, splitting all over the place. Oh dear. Anyway, that's the stitch we are slip stitching to. Get too excited. Pop your hook in there. Pull a loop through. Pull it through to the loop on your hook, remove that gorgeous stitch marker, pull up a loop, check your work, make sure it's all correct, and when you're happy you can go ta-da and give your work a cut. So how about that join? I am loving that join. We're going to use that join, by the way, in a future project that I'm pretty sure you guys are going to love. But in the meantime, yay, get excited. You have finished. Don't forget to weave in these few ends that you have left. Shouldn't have too many, not like me with all the collapsing yarn that I had problems with. Weave in your ends, and I shall see you on our lives at 4 p.m. Wednesday afternoons and Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Melbourne, Australia time. Please join our lives. We do have a lot of fun. We try to do the right thing, but sometimes we get naughty. I'm going to show you a little bit of footage in a moment of this little... Oh, here it is. Wait a minute. There you go. She's at it again, being silly, but how gorgeous does our little jacket look? I mean, super divine. I'm loving the greens. I'm loving the very light blue. It's very nice. Couple of spins here and there. Oh, don't get too dizzy. All right, thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to join us for our very next tutorial. I look forward to seeing you then, and ciao for now. Oh.